morning. This is Rich Sierra, President of Florida Small Business Legal Center. I'm the host of Business SOS. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us this morning. Today we have a special guest. I'm very excited about this. We have Graciela Laurent. Hope I spelled it correctly.
Yes.
Or pronounced it correctly. I've been practicing that pretty much all morning to make sure I got it right. So Graciela is a very special guest, and also why I brought Graciela to the show. As you see the cover of my book, Business SOS, you see a picture. So I had the privilege to have her as my photographer for the photo shoot, and also her photo is the one that actually graces the cover of our book, Business SOS, and also is basically now with her pictures, basically we rebranded our firm along with the photography that she took. So thank you, Graciela, for that exciting, for the great pictures that you took and the great product, and I'm really excited to bring you to the show.
Well, thank you for trusting me. I appreciate it. It was really great to dive into your brand and who you are and all your personality and put that all into one picture. It's such a fun process.
Thank you. So you own Graciela Laurent Finance Photography, right?
Graciela Laurent Photography, yes.
What is the business you are in, and what type of services do you offer?
So I tell everyone I always have the sexiest job in the room, you know. I am a portrait photographer. I specialize in boudoir and personal branding. I always say they're pretty intimately related in that they're pictures of who you are and not just what you look like. One has more clothes, one has less clothes, but basically, you know, it's a picture of your personality is what it is.
And how long have you been doing photography?
It's the kind of thing that I loved ever since I was a little kid. You know, when I was little, I wanted to grow up and be a National Geographic photographer, but I've had this business 10 years now.
And I know we've known each other for a little bit, and understand you have a legal background as well.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so my degree is actually English education, and I taught high school English for a little bit. And in the meantime, while I was getting my degree, I started off as a receptionist in a law firm. And then I don't know what happened, but 20 years later, I was still in the legal field and working as a legal assistant. And yeah, it was a really great 20-year run. And then I was done. And then I was just like, you know what? This photography thing, that's something that I wanted to do. Whatever happened to that, you know? And I just remembered my dreams and then I did it, you know? I loved my job so much. I gave my boss 2.5 years notice.
Wow, that's impressive.
We were working on a really big case and I wanted to see it through to the end. It took an extra 6 months, so I waited 3 years actually before really leaving. But it was the most beautiful way to leave that field, you know, because you left feeling good, and I loved my legal family.
So what made you make the change from working at a law firm to having your own business?
You know, being a photographer and having my own business are definitely two different animals. I had no background whatsoever in the business world. So I have learned that, like, as we say, a trancazo, like, life beating you up as you figure it out. But the impetus for it was probably that when I was pregnant, I got my first digital camera. And by that time, Facebook had been invented. So now to be a photographer, there weren't as many hurdles as, you know, when I was 15. When I was 15, there was no internet, literally. So you had to have a storefront and really be set up for it. When I decided to become a photographer, you could pack a bag, go on location. Everything was digital. Like, you could do digital marketing, all of these things. So it was just so much of an easier transition. And it was something that I always wanted to do. You know, I always say, like, the only reason I left my legal job is because I ran out of time. Like, I wanted to do the photography, but I loved my legal job too. So, it's not that I left because I was like, oh, I hate it so much, you know. It's a totally different world, and I'm really glad I'm here, you know?
I'm glad you did it too. So what challenges did you face when you began your business?
Oh, God, how much time is this podcast? Probably, I say that there are two major currencies. Either you have time or you have money. If you have money, you probably don't have a lot of time. If you don't have a lot of time, then you need the money to make up for it. So at the very beginning, what I carved out was time. I used to say that my working hours were 9 at night to 1 in the morning, because I would go to my day job, come home, and learn everything having to do with business. I didn't know anything about profit, loss, literally anything business related. So it was just educating myself as much as possible. So that was a huge learning curve.
That's interesting. What do you do to educate yourself about business?
So thank God for the internet. I did that. I hired mentors. I love working with coaches. I'm constantly being coached by somebody or another. And then I look to people that are successful doing the things that I want to do, and then hire them. That's what I do. I get all my advice from experts.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because when I started my law practice, I used to run an online company before, selling advertising on the web, one of the first healthcare job boards in the country, healthcarerecruitment.com, and I sold it in 2004. Then I went to law school, and I didn't know anything about business back then. But when I opened my law practice, I said, it'll be easy. And it was not. So what I had to do was also get a mentor and pay that mentor out of the clients that I got to help me along the way. And I did that for 2 years to help me with cases and basically advise me on how to really practice law. So it is important that you get coaches, get professionals, because somebody can help you along the way if you ask for help.
Absolutely. And I think that when you go to hire a coach or obtain a mentor, it's important to have done your homework, right? So I did all the studying I could do online. I read all the books I could possibly read. I did all of that. And when I got to that point, I was like, okay, I've done my homework. Now I need that good basic advice. But I laugh that as a solopreneur, and a lot of my friends are in this circle, we are the CEO, COO, CMO, the person who takes out the garbage, you're everything. So the first couple websites I did myself, all my ads I did myself, like I learned all of that. And then thank goodness, as my business has grown, I've been able to outsource a lot of that, which just feels really good.
No, you have a great process, and what impressed me about you is, in terms of the story, how I found you. I published the book through Force Books, and they asked me, okay, we need a headshot. And I'm like, no, we cannot do just a headshot. So we need to do something a little bit better. So Sharon and I, which you met Sharon, my wife, and we were looking for photographers. And I said, okay, I really need a photographer that understands how to take pictures of men, because there are just a lot of, photographers. We began to search. We saw some in California, it's too far. Then I found you and said branding photography, and I'm like, this is really interesting. So that's when I contacted you, and then you and I started talking, and I told you what my vision was, and you got it. You asked me the right questions. You understood that really what I wanted is a picture that captured me, but also a picture that actually can show the audience who I am. And you asked the right questions, and then I said, okay, I think we have a photographer. Then we met, we had that 1 hour interview, and then that you kind of went through the whole process, and you basically, based on those questions, you kind of suggested various looks, poses. So you took the time to get to know me, and that's important. That's, I think, what sets you apart.
Thank you.
From other photographers, that you get to know your client. You get to know the client in terms of what the client wants, but also really getting the client's soul, so to speak, and then making that a picture. That we went through that interview process, and then you gave Sharon an assignment, which she still does for whatever reason. You gave her an assignment. You need to go to Pinterest and look for pictures of good-looking men and put it aside with looks. And I'm like, wow, that's a tough assignment. And she really enjoyed the assignment, by the way. And she keeps that Pinterest board. I don't know why. But anyway.
That's it.
So it was a lot of fun. So then after that, we did the photo shoot. It was like 4 hours. It was a long day. You had Sharon, your makeup artist, and she was amazing. And I had a lot of fun throughout the process.
I'm glad.
Because really I had no control. I went there. Okay, you guys are in charge. You tell me what to wear. We brought a bunch of outfits, and Sharon kind of picked the outfits, and she did a great job at those. And then, and I was like, okay, what do I wear? Okay, this is what I'm
Right.
wearing.
Just tell me what to
Switch.
do. Yep.
And I just let the process go and kind of let go of control, because the way I look at it, the pictures are not really for me. The pictures are for the audience.
Right.
So sometimes we feel that we like a picture, we like a look, but it really is what the audience would like. And I said, okay, I made a decision that I was not going to be in control. I was going to let go of control, which is really, really hard for me.
I get that. I get that.
Let you guys take charge.
I will say a couple of things. First, as far as process goes, I think you have to be heart-led in any endeavor. I think if you don't care about your clients, then you're not going to produce the best product that you possibly can, right? And to me, that is true in any industry, whether you are a vehicle manufacturer caring about the safety and security of your passengers, or, what we do, right? Because if you don't come from your heart, nothing else works the right way. So why do I spend so much time getting to know the client? Because what I really want to know is, how do you want your clients to feel when they see your image? And it matters. I tell people all the time, as particularly in any field where there's licensing, lawyers, realtors, anybody that has kind of like an equal baseline, right? Like, okay, I'm looking for a dermatologist, let's say. I open my Humana booklet and there's 50 dermatologists. They're just names on a page. What's going to set them apart? I'll be honest, I don't have time to research everybody's degree. I don't have time to see every single set of reviews. So what's your first thing that you do? You go on the website and you look at their face. You just look at their face. Does this look like a nice guy? Does this look like someone who's going to, connect with me, right? And then I always say that there's a balance between confidence, authority, and approachability. And then depending on your field is the weight given to each of those things. So for example, if you are let's say a yoga instructor, authority would be, I have the degree and the knowledge to do this job. Confidence is, not only do I have the degree, but I'm really good at this and I know I can help you. And then approachability is, you can talk to me. I understand you. I'm going to listen to you, right? So a yoga instructor, I might not care so much whether they actually have a degree in it or not. If you tell me you've been a yoga instructor for 30 years, that's cool. What I want to know is that you're going to listen to me, you're going to understand me, you're going to love me. Now, if you're a brain surgeon and you are going to cut my head open, I don't care if you're approachable. You don't have to laugh. You don't have to smile. You don't even have to be nice to me. I need that authority scale to be really high. Yeah. I need that confidence to be really high. And all that has to come across in a picture. You got 3 seconds on the internet to make an impression, and it's got to be in a way that's consistent with your brand. So as a photographer, I don't know how you can pull that out of someone, all of those things, if I just tell you, come in, click, click, leave. Right? Then it just becomes a bus bench photograph where, yeah, I see your face, but what does that do for me? Right? So, and you see this true for who I think are the real photographic artists, like Annie Leibovitz. When you see her process, she spends 90% of her time connecting with her subject, having a conversation. And then why do you think she gets such amazing pictures? Because she's not worried about all the equipment. She's not worried about any of these things. She's there to connect. And then in the right moment, that's when she snaps her picture, right?
No, that's great. That was perfect. I'm gonna write that down. Confidence, authority, and approachability.
Absolutely. And and that goes across the board, right? And then just to cherry on top, when you talked about letting go and trusting the process, and I understand what it is to want to feel in control of everything, because that's definitely my personality. I told you I love a spreadsheet. I like checklists. I like things nice and neat. But the truth is like, when you go to your dentist, you don't tell them how to work on your teeth, right? And when someone comes to you as a lawyer don't you want them to trust you because you're the person with the most knowledge?
Yes.
That's what I want. I want to come to you and be like, hey, Rich, here's my problem. Just fix it. Like, I don't even need the details. Just call me when you need my signature and my check. That's it. That's all I,
Yes.
Because let's face it, you have dedicated your time to that. You do have the confidence, the authority, and the approachability. I know you're going to listen to my story, and then I'm going to leave, and you're going to handle it. And that's it. So it's the same thing. What's really interesting, and this is both in the boudoir and the branding world, is the disconnect that people have between how they think they look and how they actually look, And I say that I feel this comes from, every morning you get up and you look at yourself in the mirror, and it's kind of a task. It's not really you looking at yourself to feel good about yourself. You're looking at yourself going, oh, do I need to do this? Do I need to do this? Am I missing an injection? Did I brush my teeth right? So you're constantly creating a habit of criticizing yourself in one way or another. You don't even realize that you're doing it. Mm-hmm. So then when you see your picture, you're like, oh man, is that me? And as an outsider, I'm like, no, that's literally what you look like. That's what you look like right now. This happened just the other day. I had a client in the studio and she had her pictures up and she's crying because she can't believe that that's who she is. And I'm like, but honey, that's what you look like right now. You're sitting in my chair looking exactly as you look on the screen. That's not a picture, it's a mirror.
And I saw your client in your testimonial on your website. That was very, very touching. On the picture and when she had her photo shoot. But let's talk about branding photography. What is branding photography, and how a professional or a business owner can benefit from branding photography?
So I think, and I love every word on my website was, I wrote it myself. That's my, one of my passions is writing. So that's a really great place to get a nice overview. But the important thing is the evolution, the difference between a headshot and a personal branding image. And the difference is that the personal branding image is showing your personality. It's who you are. I think it's important when I go on someone's website to see what it feels like to work with you. So for example, if you are a financial advisor, I want to see you sitting in front of a client in your space or in a clean office setting so that I can say, oh, wow, that's what it looks like to work with them, particularly if you're doing something that not everybody does. If you're a realtor, where your picture, the surroundings of your pictures tells as much of a story as your presence, right? Even young lawyers, that's one of my favorite, no offense to the non-young lawyers.
I'm not offended, thank you.
I didn't say anything. But for example, right, like they're young, so they're cutting edge, which is so great, right? They're on the cusp of, the latest technology. And also, if you're Gen X and older, you might be like, I don't know. They're a little young. Do I trust them? Do I not trust them? So they have to balance the vigor of youth with, not looking too young either, so that they have that high confidence scale, right? So what happens? So then we dig into like, okay, how do you portray youth and that real serious, I know exactly what I'm doing. It's literally in the structure of the clothing. It's the color choices that we make. It's everything from makeup to hair to what the setting looks like that you're sitting in. Like you could have the sharpest lawyer, but if you put him in front of those old school books, remember the old school books? Every lawyer
Yes.
used to have a picture
Yep.
like that, which I always loved. But you do that today, and that tells me you're out of touch, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So all of these elements are really important. And again, nowadays, a single headshot on your website isn't going to cut it.
No.
It really isn't. Let people see who you are. It's not. I think the most important message here is that it's about authenticity. It's not a show. It's not something fake. It's important for you to let people see who you are. I'm not saying divulge your private life. I'm saying let people understand your personality through your words, through your image. Because by the time they pick up the phone, you know what people say to me? Generally, they say, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you are the way that you are, because I thought your website was like, it was so cool. I thought it might have been fake. Like I thought somebody might have just put it together. And I'm like, no, that's me. That's my words, So they're almost relieved that the image and the words and the personality that's on my website is real.
No, I agree with you. Authenticity and connection is very important. Funny story about pictures when we were younger. This is my 19th year of practice now. So, obviously you do this long enough, there's enough pictures of the web, pictures about me on the web. And then I see my picture. I remember the Boudoir Bar had this deal, like for $95, you get a headshot. So I was like so eager. Like I took my picture, I was so excited to put it there. Then I see my pictures now, before and after. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of city miles in the last 19 years. I'm like, let's take that picture down. I look very young and very fresh. And
Yeah, and there's a time and a place for all of that, right?
Yes, yeah.
Like, you know, just like when I started my business that I did my website myself. Now, 10 years later, I'm not even allowed to touch it. Like my girl, love her, she handles everything. All I can do is add blog posts. I'm not allowed to touch anything else. And thank goodness, right? But at the beginning, I wasn't in a position to do that, So I think that there's a place for $99 headshots. Sure. If you're just starting out and, done is better than perfect, let's go.
Absolutely.
Absolutely do it. And when you're ready to level up, when you're ready to really put yourself out there wholly and completely, then go for a branding shoot.
Absolutely. So what type of professionals do you work with in the branding, in the branding photography?
Literally anything. I have had vegan chefs, therapists, coaches. I have now a couple of dating coaches, lots of lawyers. I've done realtor teams. It's always something new and exciting, which is also why we get to dig into the story, right? Historically, this is how we have always passed down information, is through stories. So as long as I get a good story, we're in business.
Okay, awesome. No, I really had a great time doing the picture session, and the product came out just outstanding.
Thank you.
So
I'm thrilled. I love seeing it everywhere. I love seeing the book. I have the book at the studio so people can see the book. I mean, it's very exciting.
So it is pretty cool, and I really had a lot of fun doing it. And I was like, it was hard to choose the pictures, and then I was doing this one or this one, and I was basically, and then we did like a kind of informal survey of the pictures and basically the top two were the ones selected. One was selected for the book, and then the other one was selected for the podcast.
There you go.
So
and also you have the world's best assistant, Sharon, your wife.
Yes.
She was a styling maven.
Yes.
And she's such a great cheerleader for you too. It's really nice.
Yeah, and she still is. She's kind of dresses me up, and
that's why she keeps the Pinterest board going.
Yes. That's the reason she does it. So let's talk about Boudoir Photography. What is it, and who gets, just tell me a little more about it.
Sure. So Boudoir Photography is essentially intimate portraiture. I say it's kind of like branding, but you don't have a business. So most people tend to shoot boudoir in a intimate way, meaning it could be things like lingerie or just various stages of undress. But the important thing is that it can be whatever you want it to be. When we say boudoir, some people think very soft and sweet and romantic, a flowing white gown and a field of daisies. And then other people think 50 Shades of Grey, right? And everything that comes with that. And some people want to be really covered up, and some people want to be really nude. And whatever it is, it's okay. That's why, again, we get together and we have these great, deep conversations about what is it that you want to celebrate. So I get people getting married, people getting divorced, people celebrating a birthday, people just because, people that have gone through weight loss, people that have survived different types of cancers. I've had, what I call a boudoir emergency, where someone calls me 3 days before their mastectomy and says, I've decided I really want to do a photo shoot before I have my surgery, and we fit it in. So it is incredibly powerful and transformative. And even men, we always think of boudoir as a woman thing, but men come to me all the time as well. And the last gentleman I had, it was actually a couples shoot. And as he was walking out the door, he goes, during our prep meeting, you said it was going to be like really transformative. And I was like, oh, is it really? I'm just doing this for my wife, that sort of thing. He goes, but I feel really good. And he just walked out a little bit taller and a little bit more confident. And their relationship, went to the next level. Like it really is just such an incredible experience. And for me, it is such an honor to be able to do that for someone. I can't even explain that to you, like how I feel doing a shoot like that.
Yes, it's very personal. Tell me about your studio.
So I have an 1,800 square foot studio in Oakland Park. It does not look like your typical cold white wall studio. Of course, I have a bed. I also have a lot of living spaces. So I have a lot of velvet couches. I'm a texture person, so everything in my studio feels good to touch. So I have a lot of velvet couches. I have a lot of hand painted backdrops. You know, speaking of Annie Leibovitz, I commissioned this one backdrop from Oliphant Studios in New York. They do backdrops for Vanity Fair and Vogue, and you know, it's just everything is gorgeous. I'm sorry, it just is. So what's fun about it is that in the studio we can create those light, soft, airy pictures. We can do editorial things, and we can do dark and moody. You know, so there's a lot of options there.
Now, in terms of Boudoir Photography, and Sharon's going to kill me for this, but this is my show. She said, she's not here, and she said, rich without guardrails, it's just not a good idea.
I love it.
So we go to Vegas a lot, and we had the opportunity to do one. Actually, we did two. But anyway, that's another story. We had a great time.
I love that.
And truly, in the first time that we did the pictures, when I saw her coming out of makeup, I was like, oh my God. I mean, she's beautiful and stunning every day. But that picture, I still keep it as like my ringtone when she
Beautiful.
calls. Because really it was a look that I never saw before. And so I see how, you know, for couples that do this, and I recommend to any couple to do it, and singles, anybody. It's really a lot of fun. It is intimate, it's personal, it's about you.
Yeah.
The reality is that we will get older, and at some point we will not be in a position to do it.
Absolutely. You know, I have so many women that call me in their 20s and 30s, and when I can hear the youth in their voice, you know, and so I ask, I'm like, can I ask how old are you? And they're like, oh, I'm turning 30. I'm like, run to the studio, run quick. You don't even know what's coming. Hurry up, you know. But I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Photography, really, the truth, it's not about the picture at all. The picture is a way for you to access the memory of the moment. That's what it is. Yes. So what you're really clinging to isn't necessarily the picture. It's that feeling that you had when you saw your wife in that particular outfit, or with her makeup done a particular way. And then the fun you had while being in the session together. You know, I was talking to someone the other day about a particular spiritual practice, and they were kind of like on the bitter side of it, you know, like, oh, this is so much effort. And I'm like, stop for a second. This is supposed to be pleasurable. Like, our bodies, our minds are made to experience pleasure, and you can have just as much growth and empowerment and beauty in your life and feel good, you know, like even if you're running a marathon, it might be difficult, but it should be pleasurable. You know, you should be excited to do whatever it is that you're doing. So when you have your boudoir shoot, you know, make sure rule number one is vibe with your photographer. Make sure that you are connected with the right person. I will never work with someone that I am not aligned with. I don't take every single client that calls me, you know. I'm happy to serve anyone as long as we feel good working together and we're aligned, you know. And listen, there's a million photographers out there. I'm lucky enough that I've had people come to me from California and the British Virgin Islands and Alabama, you know, and I have repeat clients, and, you know, just for me, that feels really good. But at the end of the day, yes, you have a good picture, but it's about the experience. The picture is just to access the memory of the experience. That's where the magic is.
I do agree with that, but that's also the connection.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a feeling.
You know, our the most favorite pictures that both of us are just, the photographer caught us laughing. And that's actually our favorite, because we were saying, this is completely out of our comfort zone, and we were just having, you know, a great time, and we were just looking at each other like cracking up, laughing like, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah.
But we had a lot of fun, and that's really what it's all about.
Yeah. So I always tell people, you know, you see a lot of these pictures and they're like really steamy and really serious, and I'm like, what you're missing is that picture is literally 1/100th of a second. The seconds before and after that is me yelling at you, like, arch your back, not like that, turn to the side, you know, and it's really fun. Like, it's not as, you know, 50 Shades as it looks, you know, like, we have moments and it's really fun. But it's not as dramatic, you know, as the pictures look. So It can be whatever you want it to be. That's the important part. You get to empower yourself and make your own decisions. And a lot of times, people stumble because they're like, well, I don't know what I like. And I always say, yes, you do, right? And that's the beauty of Pinterest and looking up at images on the internet, because you may stand at your closet or stand in front of a store and be like, I don't know what I like. But if I show you 3 pictures, you're going to have a visceral reaction. You're going to say, I love that. Oh my gosh, I would never do that. Or, oh, what's that? Right? So you do know, you just never practiced it before. Yeah. So you just go through the motions. That's why I have so much prep work for my photo shoots. There's a questionnaire, there's an exercise. You come and sit to talk to me. Like, again, it's getting to know someone.
No, that's great. And so you also mentioned you also do for singles as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I would say the majority of my clients are single, not single as in uncoupled, but one person at a time.
Okay. All right. Okay.
That's the majority. And I'll tell you that even brides that do it as gifts for their spouses end up being surprised at how much they themselves get out of it. So use whatever excuse you want to use to get in the door, but come give yourself this experience, because really it's amazing. And male, female, and I'll also throw in, diversity is important to me. Gender fluidity is important to me. So I also want to put out there that my space is very much a safe space, particularly for the LGBTQ community. I know it's a challenge to know if somewhere, is safe. That's why I have so much of that information on my website, on the front door of my studio. Folks with disabilities, this is a very safe space for you, whatever you show up as. And again, that's why it's important to have big conversations,
No, that's very important. Thanks for sharing that with us. So how do people find you?
So thank God again for the internet. GracielaLaurent.com. That's GRACIELA and then LAURENT.com.
We will have your website in our show notes as well. So that way people listen to the podcast, they'll be able to see the show notes, they'll be able to link as well. Plus, we also have our YouTube channel that this will also be listed as well. Thanks for joining us. We could have done more and certainly talk about a lot of different things in the photography and world and your business, but this is very exciting. I'm glad you joined us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm truly, truly, truly appreciative.
I think that our clients and the people that do business with us, and also people listen to the podcast, they're business owners, they will really be inspired by your story as a business owner, successful business owner, and the process and the systems that you have. And you started 10 years ago, and at the beginning, any business is a struggle.
Yeah. With
the proper systems, supports, you can make it. So I'm very excited that you joined us, and certainly I'm very proud and privileged to be your client as well.
Well, thank you. We'll have to get you back in for a boudoir shoot now.
Absolutely.
Dun, dun, dun.
Will Sharon be a part of it?
Absolutely.
She jokes with me. She's like, why do you need me? Anyway, and I'm going to...
She's your muse. She's your muse.
Yes.
I love it.
No, this is a very exciting show, and I'm glad you joined us today. Just to recap, if anybody wants to reach me, you can reach at rich@richsierra.com. You have a legal question that you'd like me to cover and deal with the podcast, just send it to me via email. If I select your question, I'll send you a copy of my book signed, Business SOS, 8 Common Legal Mistakes Business Owners Make and How to Avoid Them. We're also, if you're interested in the legal services that we provide, our website is floridasmallbusinesslegalcenter.com. We're on Facebook at FSB Legal. If you like to watch the video of this podcast, we're on YouTube at youtube.com/@RichardSierra. We're on Twitter, now it's X, at @Rich_Sierra. Instagram at FSB Legal. You can also call us at 866-842-5202. Remember that Business SOS, 8 Common Legal Mistakes Business Owners Make and How to Avoid Them, is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can ask for it at your local bookstores. If you like the podcast, and I hope you did, I think this is a very exciting podcast, a lot of very interesting conversations that we had, and I'm stopping while I'm ahead. Follow us, put a review, give us 5 stars, share it with your friends. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you enjoy your shows. Until next week, this is Rich Sierra with the Florida Small Business Legal Center. Remember that my goal is to help you succeed.